Welcome to VGK Today, a daily podcast providing you an inside look at the Vegas Golden Knights 2025 Stanley Cup playoff run. I'm Justin Russo with the Golden Knights on Thursday, May 8th, as the VGK prepare for Game 2 of the second round tonight against the Edmonton Oilers. And I'll remind you once more that game time is 6:30 tonight, 6:30 Pacific time. So factor that into your plans, whether you're going to be at the game or you're just going to watch or listen from home. The Knights, of course, trail 1-0 in the series after a 4-2 defeat in Game 1, but with the Medieval Maniacs on their side once again at home, they'll be looking to even things up before the series shifts to Edmonton over the weekend. After the break, we'll begin our trip around the VGK locker room ahead of Game 2 and see what head coach Bruce Cassidy had to say to the media on Wednesday in the aftermath of the series opener. A reminder that football is back in Henderson this spring as the Vegas Nighthawks take the field at Lee's Family Forum. The Nighthawks, fresh off of a win last Saturday at Lee's Family Forum, remain home this weekend as they face the San Antonio Gunslingers. Catch the fast-paced, family-friendly action of the IFL with tickets available at nighthawksfootball.com. Also a reminder that you can always check out the official VGK mobile app because it's the easiest way to keep up with the team during the Stanley Cup playoffs. Plus, fans with the app will have the chance to win tickets to select playoff games. Download it today for Apple or Android.
Anything new on Pietrangelo or Dorofeev?
Nothing new. We'll keep them as day-to-day. Neither one skated today. Hill was maintenance. He wasn't out there either, and that's it.
When you look back in the second period, was it more so just the two power plays got them going and was able to build momentum? Was there something else that allowed them to?
Well, that helps. You're defending a lot more. I just think they got to their game in the second and kept pushing, used everybody, and I think there was some rush. Part of the rush game there opened up a little bit. Some of that is us not forechecking as well as we need to. Some of it's puck management, which I don't think was all of it for sure. We needed to do a better job with it, but it was more sustained pressure in their end. Try to find a way to get some. We really didn't. So now they're coming at us in waves, and that's when they, sort of. Every good team that has four lines, if they can roll over and they're coming. They're not stuck in their own end. I mean, they're going to do some damage, and they didn't on the scoreboard, but they did mentally for their own. They knew they were playing well. We kind of go to the room feeling we sort of got through it type of mentality, and they carried that through the third, got a break early on, and kind of kept pushing, and we weren't able to kind of counter that.
Bruce, can you draw on being down 2-1 to Minnesota for this series too? Well,
it's one game. I mean, we're not losing our mind here thinking anything's accomplished yet. You got to win 4 or lose 4 depending on what side you're on. So one that we would look at and go, well, we did have a lead going into the third, so we were doing something right, but it's behind us now. So I'm sure our guys know we were behind the last series. We found a way to get back in it. We'll talk about those things, but it's a different team. Edmonton went to Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Finals last year, and I mean, they're a hungry team to get back there, I'm going to assume, and take care of unfinished business is probably what they're talking about. So we've got to be mindful of that I don't think it's going to be, well, we got one on the road, we'll be happy. That mindset's gone out the window for them, I assume, a long time ago. I'm sure they're thinking, let's get both and do what we have to do to get both. So we better be on our toes, and that'll be the message. And yes, it helps that we were able to come back. That's always a good thing to know in the back of your mind. We've done it in games this year a lot, but that we can't be, kind of relying on that. We got to play better. That's what we got to do.
Hi, Bruce. When you found out Alex Pietrangelo wasn't ready to go, you went with Kaden Korczak. What is the message you send for a young guy who hasn't played in the playoffs, particularly on the hour's notice?
Yeah, well, he actually went through it late in the year in Vancouver. It's not a playoff game, but, White Cloud had an injury and it didn't heal as well as we thought, so he had to be ready to go. That's a bit of his job description as the 7th D or 7th or 8th, depending on how we use him and Hutton. Other than that, you got to play. You got to play to your strength. Listen, they're going to be coming at you. They're going to be throwing pucks behind you. They're going to test you. So that's part of playoff hockey. So be yourself, the best version of yourself. That's it. You're going to make some mistakes. not everything's going to go your way, but come to the bench, you shake it off, get ready to go back out there. I thought he was fine. I mean, when he's skating, he's a good player because he can defend with his feet very well, has a long stick. He'll move the puck if he's kind of into the game, and he can separate from people. He's a really strong skater and a good defender, and that's what we're going to ask of him.
What didn't happen with the forecheck last game, and then maybe what might get better with just changing the lines around? Well,
balanced scoring, is what when you put Carly, he drives the line, so you put him up in with the other place, then there's you miss that element. So he's always been good with whoever he plays with, so he's going to pull people along. Forecheck, I just thought we were a little late at times, duplicated a few other times, and then their first goal we were in between. So we got to understand that their right sticks, Bouchard, Klingberg, I don't know the other younger kid as well. I don't think he's, they're more accomplished puck movers, those two. They're going to look to make plays if you don't play through them. So, and that's what they did. They bombed it up ice because we kind of, we weren't on time. Our stick wasn't in the right spot to break up some of those plays. So we didn't check very well in that regard. Our defending wasn't good enough in a lot of areas, but specifically in forecheck neutral zone, we have to have better sticks against a team that regroups with a lot of speed. So take away time and space or get over people and have good sticks. And it's going to be both. There's no way you can be on time every time. What if you're in the middle of a line change? They spread you out a little bit. So there's some of that we'll address tomorrow. And, you talk about it before the series, but I've said this many times, until they live it, it can be hard to get their attention, and now they saw it. So hopefully they'll buy into what we watch on tape over and over.
Execution was a big word last night. I'm curious what a practice like today helps the group, and how much of the execution is also not just the physical but the mental part of it as well within the game.
Well, I mean, execution is pressure from the other team, your focus that particular time as a player, puck support all over the ice. There's a lot of different things that go into it. We weren't good enough at it. Yet early on we were making some plays. We had a chance, a two-on-one out of a forecheck situation. They turned it over as Pearson Olsen. If we execute a little better there, it might be 3-0. And a couple of 2-on-ones, but there was other plays on the breakout. I don't think we were clean enough, and they hemmed us in. That's probably where we need to. The biggest area I noticed where we need to be better. Allows their depth of their lineup that are forecheck guys to sort of, play behind you and get sustained pressure in the O-zone, which fatigues, and then the big dogs come out, and they're flying. So it goes hand in hand, and that's no different us. When our top guys are going, it's usually because, maybe our fourth line's worn them down a little bit too. So that's where we got to be better, in and out of our end. That's what happened in the second period, got stuck, and I think it kind of translated into a third period that they got hungry about because they saw it happen for them. And so that's where we're at. So where is it? Execution, it's all of the above. We're typically a pretty good team making plays. So that's what we got to do tomorrow.
More basic question. You mentioned last night being off net. How do you address that beyond the obvious? And is there a fine line between just putting the puck on the net instead of...
I think that's NHL players have to, it's hard to tell them, hey, hit the net, right? I'm trying to coach, I'm trying to score, and I'm trying to shoot it past the goal, I'm trying to pick a corner, all those things. But we're usually pretty good at that, but it was I think our lowest rate of the entire season. So that's one of those days you hopefully it's a one-off. Sometimes that your best chance is the puck ends up rolling, and you're that type of night. But I guess that where we try to do better with that is, hey, if you don't feel like you've got a clean chance to beat the goalie because you're under a little bit of pressure, how about a shot for a rebound for your guys to make them defend the next play type of thing. And sometimes guys will do that, shoot for a rebound and just try to hit the net. If they know that there's a guy in their hip or there's the lane's taken away a little bit, so that'll be the onus on them, though. I mean, that's one that just the players have to make a decision when they get the puck, whether they feel they have a legitimate chance to score or for the next play. And last night we didn't do a very good job with either.
Bruce, you were saying you can't always rely on your ability to come back, but how much has the calculus changed about getting comfortable with being able to come back, especially because we've seen it so much not only in this postseason, but the last few postseasons. So, how comfortable do you as a coach and players have to be with the idea of, this sometimes is what you have to do to win games, is coming back.
Well, we've done it a lot over the years here, so I think our guys are good with it. I think when you're coaching your team, you know whether you have it in you, right? If you're a team that can score, if you're a team that struggles to score and then you got to come back, there's a part of you knows, oh no, it's going to be a grind tonight. So, but we have guys that can finish and up and down the lineup, so I think we're good with that. I can't tell you how every team would be, but I think you have to be in today's game. Nothing goes your way the whole 60 minutes. You get calls, they right away had to kill a 4-minute penalty. That's a tough way to start the game. Minnesota had to do it in Game 6. That's hockey some nights. So now we score, they're chasing it. They can't get down on themselves, and would be the same way in their shoes. So it's just, I think the important thing into your question is you can't let 1-0 become 2-0, 3. A 1-goal deficit that gets to 2 or 3, that's when you have problems. Anybody can come back from 1, maybe sometimes 2 if it's early enough. But when it gets stretched out, I think that's what you got to be careful of. And I think that's where teams that do come back are mindful of that. Usually, it's like, okay, let's not just open the floodgates and as I said, let them have easy chances just so we get a goal in the next minute. It's like, how about we win the next segment, whatever that's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then see where that leads you. That's usually should be your approach, and I think that's the approach that tends to be more successful.
Well, the Knights hoping to avoid getting into any comeback scenario in Game 2 and really just looking to expand on their game over 60 minutes and see if they can repeat the start that they had in the series opener, just with a more complete effort the rest of the way to perhaps extend their lead even further at some point and go on to finish off the game. That was what the head coach had to say on Wednesday, and after the break, we'll get a player's perspective from Noah Hanifin and Tomas Hertl. Taking a quick pause here to provide some updates on Round 2, just in case you missed them over the past couple of days. First up, just some updated start times for Games 3 and 4 as the series shifts to Edmonton. Game 3, of course, coming up on Saturday. That start time has been announced. It is a 6 p.m. Pacific time start in Game 3. Then Game 4 on Monday, May 12th, a 6:30 Pacific time start for that one. So just some updated start times there. 6 p.m. on Saturday for Game 3, 6:30 p.m. on Monday for Game 4. Also some broadcast updates. Of course, as we get to the second round, the local television on Scripps Sports with Dave Gosher, Shea Knighty, and Ashley Weiss no longer a part of the broadcasting of the games, but Scripps Sports is still going to provide some pregame coverage for each of the Golden Knights games moving forward. Your favorite broadcasters will be on site at T-Mobile Arena for the home games and back at Studio 31 for the road games. Pregame shows are going to air 30 minutes prior to game time on Scripps Sports stations and on Nighttime Plus. Of course, the radio broadcasts will be there for the entirety of the rest of the season for the Golden Knights, no matter how long that goes. So you can always check out the games live with Dan Duva and Gary Lawless on Fox Sports Las Vegas 98.9 FM and 1340 AM. Or if you want to check out the Spanish broadcast, check it out with Jesus Lopez and Alex Romo on Deportes Vegas 1460 AM.
Their offensive abilities to score if you give them easy chances, so that's something we got to limit tomorrow.
So why is there no panic in this group? Obviously, that's what playoff hockey is all about. Resiliency, we saw that last series. Why is there not any panic in this room?
Yeah, I mean, it's a long series. It's 7 games. You can't, whether you win or lose, you can't get too emotional no matter what happens, especially after the first game. So I think last night there were definitely some things we can improve on, which is a good thing. We can correct that and bring a better game tomorrow. So just got to learn from what we can last night and move on and put that behind us.
What have you learned about Kaden Korczak this year? Just last night, a crazy situation to jump into in a playoff game.
No, he's a great player. He's such a good skater. Smart. Sometimes it takes time for a defenseman to come in and kind of figure out the pace of the game and things like that. But he's done such a good job. Anytime he's been asked to come into the lineup, he's done a great job for our team. And it's so nice having that depth if something does happen in the back end like last night. He can come in and play a great game for us. So he was awesome.
Said it before, even with the lead, we have to keep playing, we have to keep pushing, because when you give these guys like McDavid, guys like time and space, they can do a lot of damage. So we have to learn from it, but it's still a lot of games left.
Facing Draisaitl as well as Connor McDavid, were they as advertised, and facing them in real time on the ice? Yeah,
definitely. It's not easy, but sometimes it's exciting because you play one of the best players in the league, and you want to do even better against them, So it's definitely even more motivation. But we definitely have to manage them a little better.
Well, I see the mark right here. Just what do you make of the physicality of this series, just even one game in?
Yeah, obviously this is high stakes, so it's a little different, but, it's just playoff even. With many it was physical, and last night was physical, and moving forward will be even more physical. It's part of it, and that's why you love playoff, because there is a lot of hate, a lot of physicality, and you have to just, you don't want to be for sure push around, so when you get hit, you have to hit back.
Well, there's no panic in this room, but there might be a sense of urgency just not trying to go to Edmonton down 2-0 on the series. What is that sense of urgency like going into Game 2?
Yeah, definitely. We don't want to leave this place 0-2. We want to square 1-1, but we know we have to play like in the first. We have to play, spend time in moral zone. This team, they want to spend time in D zone. They're looking to forward, make easy plays. So we have to just play hard on them and don't give them too much time and space. And sometimes we give them maybe a little, especially in the second, too much respect, And I feel like it's better to be aggressive than just holding back. So we have to just give them a harder time, leaving the zone.
Good to hear from Noah and Tomas ahead of Game 2, as both of those guys certainly staying even-keeled at the moment and preaching that, hey, it's a long series, a long way to go. Can't panic after Game 1. Knights know they need to get back to their game, and they're looking to do that and press the issue a bit more in Game 2 to follow that blueprint they laid out for themselves in the first period of Game 1 to see if they can go out and execute to tie the series. Before we leave you today, want to quickly wrap up the action on Wednesday in the Stanley Cup playoffs. We had a Game 2 out east and a Game 1 with a series starting out west. But before we get to that, let's go to the first game of the night from Toronto. The Maple Leafs and the Panthers, the defending Stanley Cup champion Panthers, trying to avoid a 2-0 hole in this series after already losing Game 1 in Toronto. And of course, the Maple Leafs, a team that would so desperately love to get to the Eastern Conference Final after years of playoff failures, well, they're looking pretty good after this one because it was a 4-3 win for the Maple Leafs in Game 2 to grab a 2-0 series lead. Alexander Barkov started things off with a power play goal midway through the first period to get Florida up by 1, but it was former Golden Knight Max Pacioretty who answered with a power play goal of his own to tie things at the end of one period. Brad Marchand got his first of the postseason and his first playoff goal as a Florida Panther just 15 seconds into the second period to put Florida up 2-1. And then the big guns for Toronto started to show out. William Nylander with his 6th goal of the postseason tied the game. Max Domi made it 3-2. And after Anton Lundell early in the third period tied the game at 3, Mitch Marner, his 2nd of the postseason, gave Toronto the lead 4-3. And the Leafs held on the rest of the way for the victory. And, oh, by the way, they didn't have their starting goaltender as well. Anthony Stolarz not playing in this game, took that elbow from Sam Bennett in Game 1. It was Joseph Woll in net, and he stopped 25 of 28 for Toronto as they pick up the 2-0 series lead, with the series shifting to Sunrise for Game 3. Okay, out west, Game 1 between the Winnipeg Jets and the Dallas Stars. Both of these teams fresh off of dramatic Game 7s that got them to this point in the first place, and the Dallas Stars pick up a road win in Game 1 to already snatch home ice away from Winnipeg early in this series. Recapping the action, Nino Niederreiter got Winnipeg on the board in the second period. We had to wait till then for our first goal. And then it was Mikko Rantanen again. And again. And again. 3 goals for Mikko Rantanen. Another hat trick for him. Back-to-back hat tricks for Mikko Rantanen in the postseason. The first player to do that in 40 years, and only the third one ever in NHL history. Doug Bentley in 1944. Back-to-back hat tricks in the postseason. Jari Kurri, the last one to do it. He did it in 1985. And now Mikko Rantanen. In 2025, here we are. 6 goals in the last 2 games for Mikko Rantanen. And, oh, by the way, courtesy of Dmitry Filipovich, he did it in 14 minutes and 53 seconds of ice time. Talk about efficiency. Those goals per 60 numbers going through the roof right now for Mikko Rantanen as he picks up the natural hat trick to put Dallas up in that game in the second period and give them the cushion they needed to hold on late, because Mark Scheifele would add one late in the second period, and it wouldn't be enough for Winnipeg as they fall 3-2 in this one, and the Stars, again, snatch that home ice away, win Game 1 on the road, And boy, oh boy, Mikko Rantanen all of a sudden looking like a great pick for the Conn Smythe Trophy right now after the past couple of games for him. First player in Stanley Cup playoffs history with multiple 3-goal periods in the same postseason. Remember, in Game 7, Rantanen had that hat trick all in the third period to help eliminate the Avalanche. And again in this one, in Game 1, he gets it all done in the second period. You look at the time separating the goals. He scored at 8:43, 14:21, and 16:38, all in under 8 minutes of time. Mikko Rantanen completely shifting this game, and now up to 8 goals to lead the way in the Stanley Cup playoffs as the Stars pick up the win 3-2. You just never know what you're going to get in the Stanley Cup playoffs, right? I mean, we thought round 1 was the peak of it all, and here we are in round 2 already with some of these storylines and the dramatic moments continuing. And for two teams that are probably just thankful they're in this spot right now in Winnipeg and Dallas, now they have to shake off their round 1 victories and move forward to try to clinch a spot in the Western Conference Final. First blow goes to Dallas as they pick up the 3-2 win. Only one other game tonight alongside the Vegas Golden Knights and the Edmonton Oilers. It is the Washington Capitals and the Carolina Hurricanes. Game 2 from the nation's capital after Carolina with a comeback victory in Game 1. Jacob Slavin getting it done in overtime. And the Washington Capitals, the top team in the East, looking to get their first victory of this series and avoid a 2-0 deficit as the series shifts to Raleigh for Game 3 over the weekend. Exciting stuff coming tonight in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And of course, the nightcap, the Golden Knights, hoping that they too can avoid an 0-2 hole with the series then shifting to Edmonton for Game 3. Lots on the line early in these series. There's never going to be panic from any of these teams, right? But first couple games at home, you want to at least get one of those games, and the Knights hoping that they can set themselves up for some success heading to Game 3 on Saturday in Edmonton. That'll just about wrap up today's show. Thank you as always for tuning into VGK Today, and be sure to rate, review, and subscribe on your preferred podcast platform, as we'll be back every day throughout the Knights' 2025 Stanley Cup playoff run. Justin Russo signing off for VGK Today.